than that. Michael McCann.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I rise to I'll welcome, first of all, the honourable gentleman's procurement of this debate, but I fear that many of the members who will be contributing to debate this evening will not be supporting the position he's outlined, and I can set my stall out by saying that I will be supporting the amendment. In terms of, I should make a declaration to start, Mr Deputy Speaker, by saying that my sister is married to an Iranian, and I have strong links with the West of Scotland Iranian community, and I've taken their temperature on this issue as well. But we know that every government faces challenges, foreign and domestic, during their time in office, and the longer the government is in power, the more likely the challenges will come and the frequency will increase. And the difference between the foreign challenges which we face is that it focuses public attention at times on making decisions or looking at military options which will put our people in harm's way. And sadly, over the last decade or so, we have seen many challenges in foreign lands: Kosovo, Sierra Leone, Iraq, Afghanistan, and most recently, the coalition government has deployed UK forces in Libya. And on each occasion, each member of this House has had to come to a view on where they stand on those issues. Some will always adopt a pacifist approach. Others will weigh up all the factors, and the pacifists among us will always have the respect and legitimacy in the principled position they hold, but they must also recognise that their position lacks remedies in the harsh I won't just now, I'm going to make some progress. Well, I think you've just had the opportunity to move. I don't think you should come in so swiftly. In terms of the pacifists among us, they do not recognise that the position lacks the remedies in the harsh territory of international conflict, and it is, at times can be seen as a white flag to tyranny. What is more difficult to absorb are those non-pacifists who disagree with a particular decision and then seek to stand astride the moral high ground after the event and lecture us about how they didn't support the action in the first place. Iraq is the most obvious recent controversy, and I've often mused over what would have happened in March 2003 had the French and Russians put their vested interests aside and supported a united final UN resolution. Would Saddam have capitulated? We will never ever know. I therefore have no issue with those who seek to post-rationalise events, but I do have an issue with those who seek to do so in a manner which neglects to mention that they didn't have a feasible proposition to resolve the original problem. In the Iraq context, Saddam's refusal to abide by the will of the international community, and now we look to Iran. I do not support the motion, I support the amendment, and in reaching that decision I have examined the actions of the Iranians thus far, and in particular what prospects there are for a negotiated settlement of the issues. And what actions, Mr Deputy Speaker, have the Iranians taken thus far? The International Atomic Energy Agency stated on the 8th of November 2011 that Iran has sought to design a nuclear warhead, that Iran was continuing their atomic weapon programme research, that they could have a nuclear bomb in months, and that preparations to install a nuclear warhead and a ballistic missile are taking place. And to this, I add the rhetoric that the Holocaust didn't take place, that President Ahmadinejad's declaration that Israel should be wiped off the map, and it begs back to the mover of the motion that if that was somehow misinterpreted, did he also misinterpret the point when Ahmadinejad said that the Holocaust, or the Iranians said that the Holocaust didn't take place? We also have to question the Iranians' close relationship with Syria. I will give way.
Most grateful for the honourable gentleman to give it way. Just picking up on the point the honourable gentleman is making, it appears that President Ahmadinejad likes to cherry-pick his arguments and clearly is an anti-Semite who is intent on getting rid of the Jewish people by denying the Holocaust, but also saying about getting rid of the invasion or the occupation of Jerusalem. But of course that's just looking back on the last 1,000 years. You look at the years before that when the Jews were there before the Muslims. So I think when President Ahmadinejad is making his statements, his intent towards the Jewish people is very clear.
Absolutely. It's a question of the degree to which he's an anti-Semite, I think, has been debated rather than the question of whether he's an anti-Semite in the first place. And of course, there is that close relationship with Syria, which we know is headline news at the moment. The sponsorship of terrorism by the Iranian. Can I make some progress and then I'll be happy to give way? The state sponsorship of terrorism and at home, and this is an important thing for Iranian communities, I'm sure, across the United Kingdom, is the suppression of Iranian citizens. 650 people executed in 2010 alone, and the violent suppression of democracy protests, which we have championed in this House across that particular region. That tells me...
Grateful. Would he also add to the list of the crimes committed by the Iranian regime the horrific way in which the Awazi Arabs have been treated for many years, many of them tortured to death, many of them not allowed to take part in all the ordinary political discourse that we would expect in any other country? And would he agree that that is rather consistent with the anti-Semitism that we have seen in many of the public pronouncements of the regime?
Sadly, it is a consistency that runs through, like a lettering through a stick of rock, alongside all the actions of the Iranian government and the Iranian leadership. And what it tells me about the leadership we are dealing with is that we have to take all possible measures and look at all possible measures to determine how we move forward in the future. Do I believe, as the motion suggests, that the use of force against Iran would be wholly counterproductive? I don't know the precise answer to that question, but what I do know is that ruling it out would be counterproductive. It would say to an extreme set of people that their tactics have paid off, and the willingness of the Iranian regime to ignore the international community, 6 UN Security Council resolutions, and repress the Iranian people's rights tells me that diplomacy and sanctions shouldn't be our only options. The Foreign Secretary pointed out yesterday on television, quite properly, the complex nature of the threat, in my opinion. And for those reasons, nothing should be ruled out. Mr Speaker, I appreciate there's a lot of people who want to come in and speak, and I'm going to finish on this point. 2 weeks ago, I listened to a gentleman in a local high school in my constituency. His name was Harry Bibbering, who, as a 12-year-old in March 1938, witnessed Nazi troops march into Vienna. Days later, the persecution of the Jews started in that city. And in that same year, the Peace Pledge Union, a British pacifist organisation, asked people to make this pledge: I renounce war, and am therefore determined not to support any kind of war. I am also determined to work for the removal of all causes of war. Laudable aims, I'm sure everyone would agree, and I'm sure that all of us would be prepared to sign up to that pledge to remove all causes of war. But I'm also acutely aware of Edwin Burke's quote, that all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And that's why I oppose the motion, and I'll be supporting the amendment.
Thank you for your time constraint. I'm sure Sir Malcolm will want to follow likewise.